Hi there, welcome to Switch Mania. I am Clarence and today we'll talk about the best Nintendo Switch games on sale. We will be covering the UK, EU, US, Australia, and Canada eShop. But first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to see more of this series, please leave a like. Remember to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to receive future notifications. Likes and subscriptions help keep the channel alive. Just a quick reminder, 90% of you guys are not yet subscribed to the channel. If you are enjoying the videos and not subscribed yet, why not? You're coming back anyways. With all that said, let's get back to the video. First on our list is Return to Monkey Island. I was as happy as a child when I returned to one of my all-time favorite video game series because of the characters, story, puzzles, and humor. However, the unexpected turn in the final hour, where they discuss nostalgia and how the journey is more important than the end goal, made me really enjoy Return to Monkey Island growing up with me. As a result, it made me appreciate the games that came before it even more. And the third installment made the series possibly my favorite of all time. Enjoy the swashbuckling adventure for what it is, a puzzle game with humor and, most importantly, fun. If you've been a fan for a long time, I hope you enjoy the trip down memory lane, but I think you'll find that the game, like we all, has changed. Next is BLAZBLUE Central Fiction Special Edition. BLAZBLUE Central Fiction aspires to be one of the best fighting games on the Nintendo Switch. BLAZBLUE Central Fiction lives up to the adage easy to learn, hard to master by utilizing its numerous game modes, beautiful art style, and intriguing story to create an unforgettable game that all Switch owners should remember. Central Fiction is available on the Switch. As a result, it is very likely to win the award for Best Fighting Game on the platform. It's a fantastic game that you shouldn't pass up if you enjoy the genre or want to give it a shot. This fighter is a good buy because it offers good value for money, has some of the most beautiful hand-drawn 2D graphics on the market, and is simple to learn. Next up, Terraria. Terraria is best played alone, and the Switch version does an excellent job of bringing that most important aspect of the game to the forefront. This is a must-see if you've never played the game before or if you've played it before but want to play it on your Nintendo console. This Switch version of Terraria is a great port for those who have never played it before, but I'd argue that it's also important for those who have played and loved Terraria on other platforms. The ability to play on the go with a handheld is a huge draw, and the excellent work done to utilize the Switch's unique features makes this difficult game a joy to replay. Terraria has been around for nearly a decade, but it still holds up very well. It has fantastic and addictive gameplay, and there is so much content that it will take many playthroughs to see everything it has to offer. Next is Contra Anniversary Collection. Contra fans will be pleased with what's available, and those who have never played Contra before can sample a fantastic collection of games for a reasonable price. Not to mention a very entertaining digital book about the series' history, which is a great way to learn what all of us old gamers have been raving about with these series. The price is a bit high in this day and age, but you have to consider the quality of every single release included, as well as the fact that M2 took care of this and did it just as well as I've come to expect from the people who work there. It's a no-brainer for Konami and Contra fans to purchase, especially on Switch, where the ability to take it with you without making any sacrifices is a benefit that other platforms don't have. Next up, Castlevania Advance Collection. You shouldn't wait if you like Metroidvania games and haven't played most of these. Even if not every game on this list is perfect, they are all entertaining. Circle of the Moon is the best blend of Castlevania's old and new styles, while Aria of Sorrow is a true masterpiece that looks great even after all these years. Harmony of Dissonance has more issues than Dracula X, but it is still a very good game overall. I wish there had been more effort put into making this a complete package, but this is one of the best collections I've ever seen. In the end, there's plenty of good adventure to be had here, and Aria of Sorrow remains one of the best games in the Castlevania series overall. Next is Code: Realize Guardian of Rebirth. Code: Realize is a fantastic visual novel with an excellent concept and writing. It lacks flash and bang, so it's not the best way to get into the genre as a whole. However, once you've gotten used to visual novels and can appreciate a good story without full animation or gameplay elements, it's difficult to overlook this one as a great example of how the genre should be done. Visual novels aren't everyone's cup of tea, but Code: Realize Guardian of Rebirth for the Nintendo Switch changes that. This work deserves players' attention, whether they like visual novels or not, because it has a very interesting story, a well-defined gameplay structure, beautiful art and music, and excellent performance on both a big screen and the Nintendo Switch itself. Next up, Disc Room. Disc Room, like Minute and Gato Roboto before it, is a small but excellent game from the same developer. Leaderboards for each room, as well as an unlocked hard mode, give players plenty of reasons to keep playing even after they've beaten all 50 rooms, which is no easy feat. The main part of Disc Room is more than enough to justify purchasing it, especially if you enjoy throwing a cartoon scientist into sharp, spinning discs. Disc Room is an excellent example of how developers can transform a simple concept into something incredibly magical. The people who created it clearly cared about it and worked hard on it, and it shows. If you're even remotely interested in Disc Room, you should give it a shot. Next is Castlevania Anniversary Collection. The Castlevania Anniversary Collection is a must-have for fans of the classic whip-slinging series. It's difficult to complain when you have 4 of the best action platform games ever created. You also get 4 other games ranging from bad to decent. You'll enjoy this game whether you buy it now or wait until the region select and other bugs are resolved. Anyone who doesn't get the Castlevania Anniversary Collection is doing themselves a disservice. This anthology is a steal because you can save replays and save states, choose from 6 different display options and 3 borders, and peruse a bonus book filled with cool art, history, and interviews. Although I would have preferred a sound test option on the main menu, the ability to remap buttons, and multiple save files per game, the Castlevania Anniversary Collection is a good overall package. Next up, Crawl. Crawl is another fantastic Switch game developed in Australia. Crawl is a dungeon crawler that is unlike most others. It's also one of the best multiplayer games on Nintendo's Behemoth, which never stops moving, let alone crawling. There are numerous ways to have fun with your friends, and there are plenty of single-player options to keep you entertained. Crawl is especially enjoyable for those who enjoy non-fighting local, competitive arcade games. There are numerous factors that contribute to this group's niche status, but Powerhoof knew exactly who they were creating the game for. Crawling isn't difficult to learn, but it takes practice to become proficient. Close calls, upsets, and wins occur at a rapid and exciting pace when a team knows how to play. Crawl is a fun game to play by yourself or with a group of friends. I'm sure you'll spend weeks exploring this dungeon because it has such a unique gameplay style. Next is MLB The Show 22. MLB The Show would have been a welcome change of pace since there haven't been many licensed baseball games on Nintendo systems, even if it was just a mediocre port with a few modes. Fortunately for us, MLB The Show 22 on Switch has a lot more to offer. It has all of the 4K modes, including the fantastic March to October, Road to the Show, and Diamond Dynasty. Even though the online and visual components don't always work properly, the positive aspects of this game far outweigh the negative. MLB The Show 22 is one of the best sports games of its genre, and the Switch version is a great way to play it on the go as well as on a TV. Let's hope the show remains a Switch all-star, because I could get used to having a variety of great baseball games on Nintendo systems again. Next up, What Remains of Edith Finch. If you haven't yet played What Remains of Edith Finch, I highly recommend it. There are so many great games coming out for Switch right now that it's critical to support Annapurna Interactive's unique games. Its explorations of loss and tragedy made me cry several times, but it also has an uplifting and helpful emotional core. This experience doesn't change much because the port is finished and doesn't affect performance or graphics significantly. It should be played by anyone who is interested in video game stories, in my opinion. What Remains of Edith Finch loses nothing when it moves to Switch, and its beautiful and sad story remains as powerful as ever. Next is IRONCAST. Even though it doesn't appear to be much at first glance, I believe IRONCAST is something special. It goes into great detail about everything it wants to accomplish, and it accomplishes it all without breaking a sweat. The steampunk setting is lovely and well executed, and the game is a joy to play again and again. The only thing I dislike about the game is that people will skip it simply because it contains match 3 elements, which is a pity. IRONCAST can be a fun 10-hour or so romp with a lot of failures but also a lot of last-second wins and complete dominances, depending on how good you are and how lucky you are. The combination of turn-based strategy and match 3 puzzles is novel and, for the most part, works well in the structure of roguelike games in which you can die repeatedly. IRONCAST is a great and unique game if you focus on learning how to beat your enemies and improving your gear and skills. Next is Tales of Iron. Tales of Iron is not for the easily frightened. From beginning to end, everything is bloody, brutal, and painful. Its battles cleverly combine skill and strategy. The game will test you, but it's impossible not to have fun skewering and killing your way to redemption. Even though the game isn't particularly large, I have a feeling we won't hear from Reggie for a while. Tales of Iron is a small game that has a lot of thought and detail put into it. It looks great and has an easy-to-understand combat system similar to Souls. Despite its flaws, it's a strong and unique addition to the genre, with a great story and plenty of fun bug slashing and frog bashing. Next up, Torchlight II. Torchlight II on the Nintendo Switch is more than just a re-release of a well-known game. it also makes the most of this platform's ability to transform. It was able to make the game more appealing by utilizing all of the Switch's hardware without taking shortcuts or changing the way you play. Torchlight 2 is everything it was and more when it first came out. It allows you to kill monsters for hours on end, either alone or with others. Torchlight 2 is just as enjoyable on the Switch as it was on PC 7 years ago. I was concerned about switching from PC to console, but the controls on the Switch are quite good, even though the majority of the game is spent fighting enemies and looting. If you enjoy Diablo games, you should enjoy Torchlight 2. It's a great alternative to Diablo 3 that's only a third the price. Next is Spiritfarer. The best part of Spiritfarer may be how it begins, grows, and ends. Not only are the souls you're assisting growing and accepting of themselves, and your boat improving, but Stella is improving as well. The story creeps up on you while you're going about your business, which is very true. There are good times and bad times, and both will hit you and make you laugh or cry. Overall, I enjoy playing this game and devoting so much time to it. I was eager to play Spiritfarer, and it did not disappoint. It surprised me how much I enjoyed it. Spiritfarer has everything I'm interested in: the afterlife, crafting, crystals, making friends, getting involved in other people's lives, fixing problems, and a cat best friend. If you want to play a beautiful game with some more serious and sometimes mystical themes, Spiritfarer is a great game to try. Next up, Card Shark. Card Shark is unlike any other game you've ever played. It's a lot of fun to learn and employ various methods of cheating at a card game where you don't actually play cards. The main mystery of the story is based on a past plot, and the setting in 18th century France adds colorful characters and a beautiful setting. Card Shark is so unique in every way that it's difficult to predict who will enjoy it. Although its rules appear simple at first glance, they can be very difficult and complex. The best thing about them is that they make you feel like a professional con artist. When these sequences are combined with a fun story and a distinct style, it's difficult to see this as anything other than a winning hand. Feel free to bet if you're willing to try something new. Next is PixelJunk Monsters 2. PixelJunk Monsters 2 is an excellent addition to the tower defense genre. The minor changes give you a lot more options for where to place your towers, and co-op play makes it much more enjoyable to play again and again. The graphics are lovely in their own right, and the funky dancing, tree-destroying, tower-building gameplay will keep you entertained as you progress through the increasingly difficult levels until you reach the end. It has the same flaws as every other TD game, but it is still a good game. If you've never played a tower defense game before, this is the one to start with because it'll be the last one you'll ever need. PixelJunk Monsters is the best GameCube games has ever created. Next is Ape Out. Ape Out's nearly perfect procedural polyrhythmic gameplay and music keep the game fun and interesting throughout. The game's distinct art style complements the chaos and murder committed by the game's main character, an ape. Despite the difficulty at times, the tight controls and fast-paced action will keep you coming back for just one more run until late at night. Ape Out is an outstanding video game in every way. A simple but challenging gameplay style that keeps you coming back for more is the ideal complement to a clear artistic direction. There are more ways to play because there are more difficult modes, and I appreciate any reason to continue playing. Ape Out blends action, style, and great jazz so well that it's a shame it's only a few episodes long. But you should try this fantastic, hypnotic game for yourself. Next is Ori and the Blind Forest, Definitive Edition. Ori and the Blind Forest, Definitive Edition is a must-have Nintendo Switch title. It's a fantastic Metroidvania game that successfully combines elements of the platforming genre to create a unique experience. Ori and the Blind Forest, Definitive Edition is one of the best Nintendo Switch games. It has stunning graphics, a unique setting, fluid gameplay, endearing characters, a powerful soundtrack, and an emotional story. Ori and the Blind Forest was already a fantastic game, but the Definitive Edition smooths out the kinks and adds new content that complements both the story and the gameplay. It looks great, sounds great, and performs smoothly and satisfactorily. If you enjoy Metroidvania games and want a challenge in a visually appealing package, this is a must-have. Next up, Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom Prince's Edition. Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom has a lot to offer, and everything it does is of the highest caliber. The art style is stunning, and the game will captivate you from the moment you arrive in Ding Dong Dell. I'm so glad I went on this delightful adventure. All hail King Evan. Revenant Kingdom, Ni no Kuni 2. Everything a JRPG fan could want is included in the Prince's Edition. The world is detailed and enjoyable to explore, and the characters are intriguing, but the best part of Ni no Kuni 2 is how you play it. It never stops giving, but it never stops receiving. Ni no Kuni 2 is very different from its predecessor, and whether you like it depends on which of the following: battles with Pokemon-like mechanics that are either action RPGs or turn-based. Next up, Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy is still a great example of how to balance difficulty with interesting level design after nearly a decade. The structure of Quark Burst levels is very strong. Because the goal is always just a few seconds away, players can fail many times without becoming frustrated. It's very easy to play just one more level for hours on end as more content is unlocked by getting an A+, collecting bandages, and finding warp zones. Unfortunately, the replacement score isn't as good as Danny Baranowski's original score, but the gameplay is strong enough to overlook this, even if longtime fans will be disappointed. Those who haven't tried Super Meat Boy, on the other hand, have little reason not to. The Switch version of Super Meat Boy performs admirably. If you haven't played it yet, this modern indie classic is extremely valuable due to how difficult and deep it is. Next is Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition. Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition for Nintendo Switch is an excellent update to an already excellent action-adventure game. In freestyle mode, Hellspawn can be hurt in a variety of ways, and co-op Bloody Palace is a fun diversion. This DMC 3 version is the best way to play it, whether you've never played it before or have played it for years. I cannot recommend it highly enough to both fans of the series and those who are unfamiliar with it. Even though Devil May Cry 3 has aged, it remains one of the best character action games ever created. The new components give this classic game a new spin, but the difficulty and depth remain unchanged. And who knows, perhaps after so many re-releases and replays, people will notice how well the story is told and how much it means to them. Devil May Cry 3 SE is yet another excellent Switch port of a classic game. If you've ever been curious about the game or are a big fan, you should definitely check out this fantastic port. Next is Mr. Driller DrillLand. Mr. Driller DrillLand is a GameCube port from 2002, but it looks, feels, and plays like a modern game. The main game is extremely deep, and there are numerous built-in variations that drastically alter how you play. This makes it an excellent entry. The new difficulty setting for the game is also a nice addition. We almost didn't get to play a great arcade puzzle game with personality and multiple ways to play after almost 20 years. I believe you should take advantage of the opportunity to play this game. Nobody knows when we'll see Mr. Driller and his pals again. Mr. Driller DrillLand may not appear to have much to do, but there is a lot to like about it. It's a fun and entertaining game that demonstrates that when a game is well made, it works no matter how old it is. Next up, Little Nightmares 2. Little Nightmares 2 is an excellent sequel to one of the best horror games that combines puzzle and adventure elements. 6 returns in the second game, and Mono takes the lead. This game has a teamwork theme. This unusual journey is well worth your time. Little Nightmares 2 expands on what fans liked about the first game. It's a great combination of platforming puzzles and puzzles involving manipulating objects in the environment. As if that wasn't enough, both men and women are involved in some puzzle solving. The game shines most in its real-time platforming sections, which are tense and full of atmosphere. Because the game saves at checkpoints, even a tired old gamer can get through the platforming sections. This is a strangely beautiful horror game, with beautiful scenes and a lot of great detail. Despite being a sequel, it has its own interesting story that isn't a carbon copy of the first. Next is Owlboy. Owlboy is a stunning work of art with stunning visuals, a fantastic soundtrack, and a well-thought-out story. Owlboy may not last as long as you'd expect for a game of this type, but it has a lot of other strong points that set it apart because of the passion its creators put into it. Another fantastic game arrives for the Nintendo Switch. Owlboy is a platformer with an amazing art style that tells the story of failure, redemption, and heroism. It's also a very creative game that keeps surprising you with new game mechanics to keep things interesting. It's difficult to stop playing once you start. Owlboy is an endearing journey of high-altitude exploration and Metroid-style underground dungeon crawling. It has a lot of heart and new ways of doing things in adventure games that haven't been done before. Next up, Rogue Legacy 2. Rogue Legacy 2 feels a little too familiar at times, but it is better and more well-rounded in many ways than its predecessor. There are already a lot of great games like this on the Nintendo Switch, so you might not be drawn to this one right away because it lacks any exciting new features. Those who give it a chance, however, will discover a level of depth not present in the first game. Rogue Legacy 2 is a Metroidvania roguelite platformer that begins difficult and gradually becomes easier as you build your family tree in order to defeat the final boss. It has good graphics, a good story, and a unique way to strengthen your characters and character types. This is an excellent sequel that combines Metroidvania-style exploration with a plethora of new combat options, making it one of the best roguelikes of the year. Next is Monster Train First Class. Monster Train First Class is one of the best Nintendo Switch card battling games. I'll admit that its complex mix of mechanics and systems can be perplexing at first, but when everything comes together, it can be pure joy. Monster Train First Class is a fantastic ride. It's a deep game with a lot of content, and the Nintendo Switch is an excellent platform for playing it. It may be too difficult for those who do not enjoy roguelike card games, but the game is a lot of fun if you spend hours playing it. Monster Train First Class is an enjoyable roguelike deck builder. After an hour or 30 minutes, its ideas and mechanics are still fun and interesting. This train ride is not to be missed. And last, but not the least, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a polished port of a game that deserves to be considered one of the best modern Metroidvanias. It is playable on the Nintendo Switch. This is a fantastic forest adventure that runs at 60 frames per second while docked in held. In terms of gameplay, graphics, and music, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a huge improvement over the previous game. This stunning sequel exemplifies what the Switch is capable of. Don't pass it up. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is one of the best Metroidvania games for the 4-year-old Nintendo Switch. Even though the first game was already a memorable adventure, Ori and the Will of the Wisps improves and has an even more stunning visual style than before. That's all, guys. I hope this video was helpful in deciding which game to play, and thank you for checking out the list. Please remember to subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one.